The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Open line, Mannin Line today between now and 1. Call 66 13 68. Text 166 177. WhatsApp 166 177. Email studio@manxradio.com. Well, yesterday we were talking about what we could do to make the Isle of Man more pleasant, more appealing, more attractive, magnetic to tourists, and how we could do it. And I got some really interesting messages. Some came in after the programme yesterday, so I'll get to some of those, including the one from Adam, who said, couldn't we use the steam packet as a lost leader to help encourage families to visit the Isle of Man? We're up against package holidays that cost much less than travelling here. If we did a package, say £200 for a car and a family for a week, or 2 weeks, obviously excluding TT and MGP, then surely that would increase the amount of visitors, and hopefully the knock-on will be more hotels needed. Well, we're having them built anyway. It's going to be a new travel lodge on Loch Promenade and then another one on Lord Street, the Lord Hotel on Lord Street. The shopping streets of the Isle of Man would thrive, the economy will be boosted, and it would turn it started with a visit campaign that could be boosted. We may be able to boost the population when people visit and see what a beautiful island we have, says Adam. The steam packet is often mentioned. I think the stumbling block at the moment is the steam packet is an arm's length company, and we've tasked the steam packet, or Treasury, which is the shareholder, has tasked the steam packet with obviously making some money and repaying the loan, paying for the new boat. So I don't know, but I mean, for the steam packet to take on the onus of organising the Isle of Man's tourism, I think would be a burden that I'm not sure they'd be happy to shoulder. But as it is an arm's length company, I wonder whether we can ask them to do that. I mean, it will be down to the shareholder, the Treasury, to do that. Well, this FOI search tool, which has been identified by Manx Radio as a potential data breach uncovered within the Isle of Man government's Freedom of Information system, raising serious questions about data privacy and the protection of individuals who have submitted information requests. Now, if you have submitted an information request, an FOI, it states that everything will be kept confidential. However, an investigation by the Manx Radio News team has revealed that the FOI platform allowed members of the public to retrieve FOI requests submitted by specific individuals, organisations and addresses. Previously, you may have been able to see what the subject was, but not who asked for it. And by using simply just the search platform's keywords function, you could just put in names, organisation titles or postcodes and identify who had submitted particular requests. For example, putting a person's name in quotation marks brings up FOI requests submitted by that individual. Similarly, searching for the name of an organisation or a specific postcode returned request. Now, they've turned it off now. Obviously, things have gone wrong, and we've contacted the government for a response and also approached the Information Commissioner's office, which has confirmed it's launched an investigation. At the time a publication, no official statement from the government has been received, but they've disabled the access to FOI search systems. So we'll see exactly where that leads us, but up until yesterday, you could merrily search within the system and take a look who had submitted what. Julian's on now. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Andy. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? It's a bit different from yesterday.
And it's a lot different from what tomorrow is going to be, so we'll make the most of it today.
Yeah, it's amazing. By the way, data breaches, we're all being pushed onto smart meters, which transmit our usage over the internet. If somebody was to breach that system and get hold of all the trending use of electricity, could you infer that people are on holidays, give that information to criminals and they could break in your house? Or is that a silly idea?
Well, who knows? I mean, the fact is, this was brought up yesterday. The trouble is that technology is fantastic when it works. And obviously the people at Costa Coffee on the Isle of Man are ruining that because, they were charging people more. They were charging people eat-in prices when they were eating out. Just because their technology went wrong. So, they were overcharging people at various outlets purely because of a technological error. Now, if that can happen for somebody who's selling you a £3 cup of coffee, who knows what's going to go wrong in the future?
Yeah, and digital currency might be on the way. Makes you wonder, there might be certain weird mistakes happen with that as well.
Well, the thing is that, technology is fantastic. Let's get it straight. Technology is brilliant. The technological era that we're in today is fantastic, and everybody accepts it. It gives us, who would have thought many years ago that you could have a free video call with anywhere in the world? But you can do it now on WhatsApp. You can have a free, or Facebook, or what have you. You can have a free video call. It's absolutely astonishing. So the technology that's around today is absolutely wonderful. But the trouble is, we are lending more and more of our lives to technology. And as you say, there may be some dark players out there who want to take advantage of it. And we all hope that the gatekeepers look after us.
I wonder if it is free, though, when the terms and conditions on page 2,740-odd say that all the data that you're giving is able to be used with third-party interest. Well, so is it actually free?
But the thing is that heavens above, we all know there's somebody in a black shirt somewhere in Southern California who's harvesting in all our data, and if they're not, somebody in China is, or somebody in Kazakhstan, Julian. So I think that genie is out of the bottle.
True. I was just going to. The reason I rang in was about the foot and mouth news article yesterday. Isle of Man bans personal meat and dairy imports from EU to prevent spread of foot and mouth. The ban includes sandwiches bought at European airports. Just wondering, Andy, how many uncooked raw beef or raw pork sandwiches are on sale in European airport shops?
Well, remember, a European airport shop includes Dublin. So that's one direct flight from the EU that comes into the Isle of Man. I'm not suggesting they sell raw beef at Dublin Airport, but it is closer than we often think.
And has there ever been a report of a foot and mouth being transmitted through cheese, which is aged for 60 days according to regulations, or the beef... even if you think about the milk that's used, pasteurised cheese, it's either 63 Celsius for half an hour or 72 Celsius for 15 seconds and then rapidly cooled for the milk. So does this make any sense that a cooked beef sandwich or a cooked pork sandwich or anything like that is being banned?
Well, I think everybody is so risk averse now, and bearing in mind that, it wouldn't happen on the Isle of Man because we don't have no win, no fee. But in the UK, they do have no win, no fee. And if a retailer sold somebody something and it made them ill and somebody got very ill, then in would come the insurers. So I think this is basically we file it under being risk averse.
Yeah, I just noticed an interesting, there's a study been done by the Veterinary Medical School in Van in eastern Turkey, and they got hold of 80 cattle, 60 of which had foot and mouth, 20 without. And when they checked the blood work, they found that various vitamins, including vitamin D, were extremely low in the infected cattle.
In Turkey?
It was found that Yeah, they did in Turkey. They did a research in Ankara on cattle. They found that the recommended supplementation levels were far below what was required to maintain optimized immune systems in the cattle, which makes you wonder: does our chief veterinary officer, Dr. Amy Beckett, is she aware of these studies that are saying that especially cattle that are in stalls that don't get a lot of, they're on feed, they're not outside, are they are they not that healthy, actually, which makes them, less than able to do it? I mean, they recorded that cattle that had been supplemented properly, including vitamin Bs, zinc, vitamin D, etc., they found that they fought off foot and mouth disease in a fraction of the time and developed robust, long-lived natural immunity, unlike the vaccinated cattle, which only had antibodies for up to 6 months and only for one type of pathogen, whereas the ones that had all the good vitamin D naturally, they were able to deal with any kind of variant. And this it was also interesting in North America at the moment. Naturally raised by Native American bison, the national increase in population of bison is 14%, but when they're raised naturally, the herd's going up at 1,031%. They had a 12,000% increase in the bison population just between 2000 and 2010. And they're ruminant animals, and I tell you what, they did a study on them, and every one of them had robust antibodies to every serotype of foot and mouth disease. But they're out in the open, and I don't ever recall there ever being a foot and mouth outbreak on the Isle of Man. And we only have grass-fed outdoor cows here, don't we? We don't have these industrialised stalls like they've got in southern England and some parts of America.
No, it just seems like we're putting ditto marks under a UK regulation. And again, I'll just go back. They're just being risk averse. They don't want anything to go wrong, because if something went wrong, then somebody will be culpable, as it were. So that proves it. And again, it's not that much of is it that much of a hindrance not to bring back cheese from Europe or meat from Europe?
Well, it's kind of like you could ask a question in reverse and say that for decades we've been vaccinating cattle, so why are we culling so many of them? If it's saying here that their immune system is so robust that they can get over foot and mouth disease in a few days and then have full natural immunity, why aren't we doing that instead of killing? I mean, has this got anything to do with the Arab report that is stating that their aim is to get rid of dairy and meat products for people by 2030?
Oh, wow.
I mean, it kind of... Do you know what I mean? That's in the Arab report, and we've already commissioned Arab reports here on the island. Our government have paid them a lot of money to do these reports. So if they're saying they want people off meat and dairy by 2030, why don't they stop vaccination and do what the research here says is get them all really, really healthy, and perhaps grass-fed, and stop putting them in mass production stalls, which is what they do for raising cheap beef.
Okay, all right, appreciate it. We're not here, Julian, so have a good weekend. Catch you next week.
Yeah, thanks. You too.
19 minutes past 12 it is on Manx Radio. This is the story Julian was referring to about EU travellers face new rules to stop the spread of foot and mouth disease. Travellers are now banned from bringing meat and cheese back from Europe, including airport sandwiches and duty-free purchases. So no more duty-free cheese. To prevent the spread of foot and mouth, the Isle of Man government's followed suit to the UK in a bid to protect Manx agriculture from the potentially devastating impact of foot and mouth. It means travellers will no longer be able to bring cattle, sheep, goat and pig meat, as well as dairy products from the EU, European Economic Area countries, into Great Britain or the Isle of Man for personal use. The move follows recent outbreaks in several countries, including Germany, Slovakia and Hungary. There are no cases of foot and mouth in the British Isles, and these measures continue to protect the health of livestock, the security of farmers and the Isle of Man's food security. Amy Beckett, Chief Veterinary Officer, said the enhanced restrictions are a crucial step in protecting Manx agriculture, urging livestock keepers to exercise the utmost vigilance for signs of foot and mouth disease, follow strict biosecurity measures and report any suspicions to DEFA immediately. And if you suspect foot and mouth disease, it's 685-844. 685-844. Here's Robert now. Hi, Robert.
Hi, Ralph's gone in for his Victoria sponge over at Gryer.
Oh, fantastic.
So he didn't like Julian's meat and dairy comment, so he's had enough of it.
Jolly good. That's the name of the waitress, is it? Victoria Sponge?
Well, it's Victoria Sponge and Custards.
Oh, lovely.
And it's 80th of VE Day coming up on the 5th or the 8th of May. So there'll be 2 Spitfires flying across from Dalby to Douglas.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's good. And have you had an omelette today, Robert?
I haven't had an omelette today, but I've had casserole and we had some light mayonnaise.
Well, that's brilliant. What are you doing this weekend? Anything special?
Just be on the Marble Road, to be honest with you.
Okay, all right. Have a good weekend, Robert. Thanks for being with us. Mrs. Kane said students may not attend university because of worry about debt. It's more likely they attend and don't come back to avoid paying debts, says G. You may have heard Daphne Kane talking about the grants that we give students to go across to university. I mean, our students are privileged in a way because obviously they don't get loaded up with tuition fee debt that, as they do in the UK, some horrible situations there where people have lifelong debts. Literally come up with £40,000 worth of debt, and heaven knows how that affects people's mental ability. But that doesn't happen over here. But there is a cost to the taxpayer, and often those students don't come back to the Isle of Man. Well, not directly back to the Isle of Man. There's Howard with us now. Hi, Howard.
Hello, Andy. Just listening to the reports of the prohibition of beef, etc., or any meats and cheeses and whatnot come from EU. Something that's crossed in front of me about a month or 6 weeks ago. I've got a book here. It's what I've done. I've ordered a butterfly hatchery for our great granddaughter. She can have it and take it into school, and it gives you little cocoons that, caterpillars turn into cocoon and then hatch into butterflies, fine. But also in the same book, there are solitary bee cocoons, or boxes of 100 cocoons. Now, the Isle of Man is very special in so much that it's Varroa disease free. Now, any beekeepers, and there are quite a few of them out there, will either contradict me or know about it or whatever, but these can be purchased and they will come to you in the post, and it says boost the number of solitary bees in your garden by releasing UK bred solitary bees. Now, Varroa disease is quite rampant in the UK, and the Isle of Man has a unique position in where it's free from this disease, and as far as I'm aware, they can sell bees, healthy bees, to keepers in the UK.
Oh, yeah, we export bees.
That's right. Yep. So this here, now I don't know, I haven't actually tried to purchase any of these, although I'm waiting on delivery of the butterfly hatchery. But these, it does tell you what each cocoon contains a red mason bee. Now, whatever they are, I do not know, I haven't a clue. But they're available from March to May, and they will hatch within 2 weeks, and ideally release them next to a bee house to encourage them to nest in your garden. Now, are there any guarantees these are Varroa free?
Well, I mean, I'd be anxious to hear from any, what do they call a beekeeper? An apiarist, aren't they?
Apiarist, yes.
I'd be anxious to hear if any of our apiarists are listening, and I know for a fact there's a farmer's market on at St John's today, and they'll be there selling real proper Manx honey. So if anybody's listening, can you tell us then, will these postal bees do any damage to us on the Isle of Man? Because it will be cataclysmic if we got Varroa mite on the Isle of Man, Howard.
That's right. And these here, they're cocoons, and it says, they're releasing, they can be either added to the release tray in our solitary bee house or buy them loose in a cardboard release box. But as you rightly say, and it worries me myself, that if these things are anyway infected by the virus, it could be the end of the beekeeping on the island.
And where do you get these bees from? What's the company called that you order them from?
It's called Green Gardener. And I've bought stuff off them before, but when I saw this, I thought, oh my goodness, that's fine if they're going to do it in the UK, but if you order them and they know they're coming to the Isle of Man, will they be aware that there is a restriction on bees or likewise coming to the Isle of Man because of this disease.
I wonder whether DEFRA know about this, because I would imagine somebody somewhere. I mean, we guard our status as a bee exporter very jealously, and the beekeepers of the Isle of Man do a sterling job. So that's thank you very much for raising that, Howard. I mean, your eyebrows raised, and so do mine.
And as I say, they may not be. I've ordered some things once before, and they were aerosols, and they ended up in Belfast actually, and they were blown up in the post because you can't post aerosols, not realising it. But this could be just a similar thing where something could come through the post, because I can't imagine it being anything large, and the small packets looking at it, it's only the bag, not much bigger than a cigarette packet by the look of it. It says 25 cocoons, 50 cocoons, or 100 cocoons, and it's £60 for 100 cocoons. Well, that £60 could decimate the honey industry on the island.
Okay, all right, Howard. Are you on duty this weekend at the Camera Obscura?
Yeah, I'm up there on Sunday afternoon and Monday morning. So just hope the weather's good. All
right. Well, it looks like we get tomorrow's going to be a bit iffy, but we should be okay throughout Sunday and Monday, hopefully.
I don't think it's open tomorrow. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. All being well, we're open from 11 o'clock.
Okay, I appreciate it. Have a good weekend, Howard.
And you. Cheers, Andy.
Cheers,
bye now.
Yes, St John's Farmers Market's on now. It's on till 3 at St John's Church Hall, just by the crossroads there, with some local stuff as well. Easter gifts available, and more importantly, Manx honey will be available. It is the best honey in the world. Stephen joins us now on Mannin Line. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Andy, and good afternoon, listeners. I wonder, could I just talk briefly about the proposed levy that the Treasury Minister wants to introduce for healthcare? And I know he's got a bill in there, or he's going to bring a motion at the next Timber to seek permission, I think, for a consultation, etc., etc. Well, I would hope that all MHKs will seek public consultation themselves and not rely on a consultation that will have loaded questions within it and will be directed at proving that the public really want to have a extra tax increase without seeking any efficiencies in what government does as a whole. So my call is to all MHKs around the island: please engage with your public in public meetings, and if they do not call public meetings, I hope people around the island will call them themselves by getting the required number of signatures in your area, asking the captain of the parish or the chair of the various commissioners and local authorities to organise public meetings, because I don't believe we can leave this simply to our elected and unelected officials to do this, because I'll explain why. It would appear that we have an extra minister in Comyn. Really, I think that's to ensure that Comyn has an extra vote. And then you look at the makeup of Legco, that seldom sends bills back and rejects them. It virtually, within Tynwald, when they are all assembled, they seem to me to be there to ensure government business gets passed. Stick all your hands up and say aye. And it's almost like there's an inbuilt majority for government to get its business passed without much ado. So I do hope that, and there's no reason why MLCs can't engage with the public in a similar manner when MHKs, and if they do call public meetings, I do hope the public themselves ask for these meetings, because this is a major change from our established procedure of having a set tax rate. And I know that it was said in the media recently that some folk who've got more disposable income than others could pay up to £10,000 per couple. and even those who are in receipt of income support and benefits, pensioners, could also pay an extra 2% income tax on top of the 21. So we've had an increase of 2, went down by 1, and now this proposal would make it 23%. I don't think it's the right thing to do, to just increase the money, because if you simply can get Tynwald to pass more money each and every time, the ability or the incentive to seek change and seek efficiencies all throughout government will just not happen. We could very soon find ourselves on 28%, for example. So that's my
yeah, but I mean, that's a very important point, and one, I'll be honest with you, that passed me by, because of course we can call requisition. I mean, the captain of the parish has to get, is it 12? I think it's 12 signatories, isn't it?
I think it's 12 signatories. Yeah. So of the voters. So you need that is what will start the process off. So in the big boroughs, in Douglas, for example, it would be the mayor that would have to call the public meetings in the various wards if a certain number of people would support this. And I do feel that's the way forward, because far too often you get very complacent. Even some of the backbenchers who do not seem to say they align themselves with the government, they vote these policies through because nothing else has been thought through. Now, I know there's certainly my representative, Chris Thomas, is against this proposal, and I more power to him to try and seek other solutions. Just simply giving more money each time, I don't believe is the way forward. And I do hope people will seek public meetings to discuss this very important issue, because it's not just the funding, it's Manx Care, how it operates. You, like me, Andy, you probably know a number of people, and you meet people all the time who are having appointments cancelled, delayed, and die. Some of them die whilst they're waiting. So there is issues, yes, and after this length of time, simply asking for more money, I don't believe is the solution at the moment.
And we both, I mean, you certainly know because you've done plenty of them, but sometimes public meetings can be sparsely attended, sometimes they can be absolutely jam full, and you get a measure of how people feel simply by being at a public meeting. And I think, as you say, when people meet like-minded people they don't even know, then suddenly there is a palpable sense of community.
Absolutely, Andy. I think the last one I think you attended was the one to discuss the build on the Westmoreland road site that they famously called a village, and that was well attended, and people can hear what others have got to say, and it gives them confidence that they are not out of alignment with what others are thinking. Mm-hmm. Would you not agree with that?
Oh, no, and also the fact that there is a public meeting can often bring the local MHK, the applicable MHK in, and other MHKs as well, because often they operate inside the Tynwald bubble, and they don't, sometimes can be a little detached from what people think.
Oh, absolutely. I think that they get ensconced within the Tynwald bubble. They see few people. They talk to like-minded people who attend the briefing, if you like, of which is an alternative parliament, really. They attend the briefing, and oh yes, this is the solution for that question, blah de blah, and then next minute it becomes law. And sadly, the public are excluded, because how many consultations have we had where people have expressed a view one particular way and it gets ignored? And I think this will be no different. So for me, I think it's very, very important that the public have an ability to express their views to the MHKs, who incidentally are going to face an election coming shortly. And which one of them wants to go into an election to say they've increased over this Tynwald income tax by 3%? That's the reality of the situation.
Okay,
3%, Andy.
Appreciate it, Stephen. Thanks for calling today. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
All right, 24 minutes before 1. Another GDPR breach by the government over FOI requests. This is 109. Dropped a note in. The last investigation was an internal audit as undisclosed department members were investigating the personal background of FOI submitters. Another government departments, and yet the outcome of this has not been made publicly available. The Isle of Man government's meant to be the arbiter of GDPR and can't process their own regulations successfully. That's the opinion of 109. Finally, South Ramsey Beach has got a digger on site, cleaned the whole beach. The sand is level, the stones and the grass are gone. It looks fantastic, says Eric, 942. I'll take a look over the weekend. Thanks also to, back in the 1960s, Paul said, 60s and 70s, we had the cheapest beer in the UK. Tourists came here, tourists who come here now are aghast at the cost of going out and having a good time. Also, drop the VAT on restaurants so that they're busy, and this will encourage many more tourists to come here. It will also encourage more businesses to open. Go back to what we once were, says Paul on 715. And I hope the scaffolding around the old stables at the bottom of Summerhill is taken down for the TT. Looks terrible. That's from 470.
The extended Ramsey Garden Centre is deceptively large. You'll find a warm welcome and everything from bedding and perennials, fruit and vegetables, to lighting, garden ornaments, bird baths, bird tables and indoor and outdoor pots. Come and browse at Ramsey Garden Centre.
Hi Liz, I see you've had your garage converted. We're desperate for more room.
Yes, come through and have a look. John called Manx Property Conversions. We now have an extra bedroom, but it could be another reception room, kids' playroom or office. They also did our conservatory roof last year. We were so impressed, we got them back to convert the garage.
Wow, I need that. What's their number again?
Call MPC on 450 500. That's 450 500. Or find them on Facebook at Manx Property Conversions.
The best island journeys don't always follow a straight line. They wind along our cliffs, curve through quiet lanes, sometimes to somewhere completely unexpected. At HSBC, our relationship managers are here to help you navigate life's journey and its changes, plan for the short and long term, and make the most of every opportunity along the way. Because financial freedom isn't just about where you are, it's about where you're going. Pop in branch or search HSBC online. HSBC. Opening up a world of opportunity.
In the Isle of Man, HSBC Bank plc is licensed by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Enjoy a fabulous getaway right on your doorstep at Trail Lodge Ballasalla, with fabulous boutique accommodation at beautiful Silverdale Glen, perfect for couples and small or large groups. From luxurious Egyptian cotton sheets, wet rooms and flat screen TVs to total immersion in the stunning surrounds of Silverdale Glen, Trail Lodge Ballasalla has something for everyone, whether total relaxation or exhilarating adventures. Plus, we have brand new self-contained luxury lodges coming this year. Visit traillodge.im to find out more.
For the final time this season, FC Isle of Man take to the field this Easter weekend, hoping for a positive final outing after a difficult 2025. They host familiar foes in West Didsbury and Chorlton, who are gearing up for an exciting chapter in the promotion playoffs. Join Darren Timpson and Tony Mepham for FC Isle of Man versus West Didsbury and Chorlton, kicking off at the Bowl this Saturday at 6 p.m. Manx Radio will be bringing you full live match commentary on our DAB and AM 1368 channels. Live coverage of FC Isle of Man on Manx Radio is supported by Selton, investing in our community.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
21 minutes before 1. I got a message yesterday asking about, it was Ken asking about the King Edward Pier covered passenger walkway that was removed for access during the pier works and when it's going to be mended. We got a series of correspondence from DOI basically saying the covered walkway, it's not going to be repaired for the moment. The covered walkway, they couldn't provide a time frame on it, unfortunately. The options are being explored, and eventually they told us that the reinstatement is part of the overall project, but the team had difficulty sourcing materials for this. So as it stands at the moment, it's going to be open. It's going to be al fresco. So the reinstatement of the walkway and make good wasn't built into the original project. So we'll wait and watch. Thank you, Ken. That's the information. And Bonzo's on now. Hi, Bonzo.
Hello there. Yes, just hearing a moment ago when you were talking about a message from Paul, and Paul saying, oh, well, why can't the Isle of Man go back to what it used to be? Well, you can see how the Isle of Man used to be in actually glorious colour on the BBC Archive website on YouTube, where it's just put up, or very recently put up, an episode of the BBC Two documentary series Man Alive that they used to have in the 60s and 70s.
Oh, was this the one on Birching?
No, it wasn't. So it did mention Birching, but it wasn't the featured one on Birching. It was one called Manx Alive. And it was a general impression of 1970 of the island and how it manages to exist and how it was coping with something that was a transition away from tourism and the impact of come-overs and when-eyes and such like. And it's strange how, yes, of course, it is very different, and the attitudes and accents of the aristocratic come-overs who fled here to avoid death duties, and the when-eyes who came from Kenya and Nyassa land, in order to sit around and play golf all day. They are just hilarious. But many of the same questions about, what are we going to do about keeping young people on the Isle of Man? What are we going to do giving them a future on the Isle of Man? How are we going to organise our politics? How much is it run by vested interest? Those are exactly the same. And that's 55 years ago, from when, over half a century ago. And those same issues come up again and again and again. So I think it would be very interesting, actually, for maybe perhaps Manx Radio to do a feature on this particular documentary and how things have changed. It also features, actually, an extremely young Annie Kissack.
My word.
Really, 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 really young Annie Kissack singing in a choir in a church.
Now, I've seen some of those old, and I think there are some they're on the old. There's one called Look at Life. The old Rank Cinemas one has got one.
Oh yes.
And
look at how they all enjoy themselves. Yeah. Look at their funny costumes. Yes.
But I mean, the point about the fact that we don't seem to have got our head around the perpetual problems, is it because by the nature of by our insular nature, there are some things that are always going to go round and round in circles. It's like perpetual motion, but perpetual problems, in that we can't seem to get to the bottom of politics. Or is it the fact that politics is fluid anyway, and there will always be an element of dispute within politics, Bonzo?
Well, politics is a function of the people who are here, and given that the fact that the people, the composition in various ways of the population of the island has altered, so the politics will alter. But there will be some key issues which are generated from the very fact of our geography. There's a great big pond that we're in the middle of, and we have to get people here and get them back, and there has to be a regularity of being able to do that, and that has to be affordable, and all those other things. So some of those things will always remain the same, and yes, we will have slightly different problems, but it is very educative and gives you a lot to think about. Actually, looking back 55, over half a century, and it's still, there are still some of these things. And of course, as I say, some of it is absolute comedy gold. I recommend it for tomorrow's the rainy day.
Jolly good. But in those days, remember, we had what you would call gentlemen politicians. The politicians didn't get paid a fat lot. I mean, they got some money, but now
yes, and that was very obvious as well. There are segments in it with Charles Carouche, and the entitlement of Carouche is jaw-dropping. It is absolutely, terrible. You can tell why people... And indeed, the chief of the Manx Labour Party is on it, and he was saying exactly the same thing as we are now, 55 years later. Yeah. It's just that he looks like he's come out of a documentary about veterans from World War One.
You see, I just wonder, we had gentlemen politicians, now we pay people a living wage, sometimes more than a living wage, and Lots of people argue that it is better than it used to be, but some people say we've got people who are in it just for the job and not for the good of the Isle of Man.
Well, I would then respond to them and say, well, what were the gentlemen politicians in it for, given they weren't being paid?
Maybe they were altruistic, Bonzo.
Well, yes, I think one would be presumptuous that many of them were gentlemen. That's another story.
Okay, well, Bonzo, you're a learned person. Who taught who? Did Plato teach Socrates, or did Socrates teach Plato? I can't remember. Well, one of them taught the other.
No.
One of them taught the other.
No, it would have been Socrates. No, it would have been Socrates.
Okay, it's just that they came up with a scheme of running society, and it was to have a guardian class of philosopher kings who ran the place. They didn't have democracy. We just need a guardian class of philosopher kings. What do you say to that?
Ooh. Well, as a philosopher, far be it from me to put myself forward as beneficent philosopher king, but I think there is a thought that people should have a variety of backgrounds that will allow them to think about a broad number of subjects and then be able to give representative decisions on behalf of those who elect them. But then again, there's also a very valid argument that some people are putting up for lottery politics, and that people should be essentially just selected at random like jury service.
Okay. All right, Bonzo, have a good weekend. Thanks for calling today.
Okay, then. Cheers. Bye.
12 minutes to 1. A note in from Lisa, who just said, what's the situation with the breast clinics? I heard that they're coming back. Yes, the Isle of Man's breast clinics are to be reinstated from next week. Manx Care secured a locum radiologist to assist the service from next Tuesday, the 22nd. The move's in response to the previous locum taking unplanned absence. Temporary interruption to the service led to Claire Christian facing an emergency question in Keys this week. Yeah, they've confirmed patient lists are being reviewed, and the team's calling patients to confirm that their referral has been received. In the meantime, if you're experiencing any worsening of symptoms or new symptoms since your referral, contact your GP. For more information, call the breast care nurse on 650-194. That's 650-194.
Where has a 5-star selection of hand-picked quality cars?
Manx Car Store.
Where are you guaranteed a 5-star friendly professional service?
Manx Car Store.
And where has 5-star prices on cars covering all budgets? That's right, Manx Car Store on Kirby Farm Industrial Estate, open 7 days a week. To see their range of quality cars and over 250 5-star reviews, just visit manxcarstore.com or find them on Facebook. Manx Car Store, a place you can really trust.
Oh, I don't believe it.
Don't believe what?
A small stone just flew off and shattered the conservatory window.
Oh, no problem. I'll call out Manx Glass and Glazing.
Can they fix it?
Yeah, Mum's glass shattered and they soon replaced it.
Manx Glass and Glazing don't just do the big jobs. Visit Snugborough Trading Estate for all your glazing supplies and repairs, including broken or failed double glazed units, along with good old-fashioned customer service and product knowledge.
Manx Glass and Glazing. You're smashing.
Get your tickets now for this season's range of onboard dining events featuring old favourites like the legendary Pie and Mash Train, the Curry Club and more, including memorable dining experiences on one of our Steam theme events with something for everyone. To find out what's cooking on the dining car or to book, call 697 457 or visit rail.im.
Enjoy a stress-free, collaborative and successful building project with construction experts Matthew James Limited. First, we take the time to discuss your requirements and assess your site. Then, we'll design and produce plans to bring your vision to life. We'll oversee planning, and when ready, our team will construct to the highest standards. In short, Matthew James are there for you every step of the way, until completion and even beyond. Dream, develop, deliver. MatthewJames.im
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
9 minutes before 1. Oh, yes, if you look at your watch now, or your clock, or your smartphone, or what have you, and it says 9 minutes to 1, you're listening live. And if it's not, you're probably listening as a podcast or listen again. Thousands of people, I'm not joking, thousands of people around the world listen to Mannin Line as a podcast. Lots of them are former Manxes. And as Christine dropped me a note in just to say, as a regular listener to Mannin Line, even I no longer live on the Isle of Man, a Manxie who retired and up sticks 3 years ago to live in the UK. After listening to today's Mannin Line about how to make the Isle of Man more appealing, here are a few suggestions. You should revamp M&H sites, especially the House of Mannin and Castle Rusholm, make them more interactive, more accessible. Peel Castle, have some Vikings there reenacting what life was like. Feature the Mod-I-Do, make a fun trail around Peel. Invite Culture Van in to share ideas and have regular workshops. Making Bumby cages, thus making the most of the Isle of Man's rich cultural heritage. Cycle trails led by an instructor suitable for all ages and abilities and individuals and groups and families. Make better use of the Blue Badge guides and do some walking events, which would end up at a venue or an outdoor picnic serving Manx drinks and foods where possible. When you think of the Isle of Man, what comes to mind? Is it transport, trains, trams, M&H sites, glens, beaches, ruins, keels, ferries, the sea, fishing, angling competitions or what have you? Sport of all kinds on the Isle of Man, and Manx folklore, the Began and stuff like that. Flora and fauna, food and drink, painting, landscape. Focus on the senses, says Christine. Any of these ideas could be used and elaborated on. The Isle of Man could hold a monthly event showcasing the idea and incorporating arts and crafts. I'm sure lots of locally trained people would love to have the opportunity to be involved. I live near Beamish Museum. I think that's in the northeast of England, isn't it? And it's a fantastic place. There's always something going on there that's throughout the year. The Isle of Man could have something similar on a smaller scale after whatever happened to the Manx section of what was downstairs in the museum. This could be used and have a set-up through the ages to include fishing, farming, cultural, education, even a science section. After all, look at the wonderful engineering of the Lady Isabella and the swing bridges. Says Chrissy, any of these ideas could be used all year round by the schools and other organisations. This in itself would create employment and some revenue as well. I could go on, says Chrissy, but I'll leave it there. Well, thank you, Chrissy. I appreciate you taking the time to put that together. I also got a message in from Clive, who said the gentleman yesterday was talking about the Ulster Folk Museum and how they recreated streets. Exactly the same happens in Dudley, in the West Midlands. Dudley's not in Worcestershire anymore, it's the West Midlands, I think, isn't it? In Dudley, it's called the Black Country Museum, where they have absolutely recreated almost a small town by the canal. And surely that's something we can look at doing on the Isle of Man. Said Clive, we have to be bold and do something about that. We can't simply turn in and hope everybody will come to see us. We have to offer people something. Thank you, Clive, and thank you, Chrissy. And if you're listening on a podcast now, thanks for your attention. Good to know you're along. My expensive Manx Telecom says the time is now 1:20, says Liz D. You're in the future. There should be karting and bowling on the Summerland site, says John in Oncombe. And thank you, Desmond, sending everybody good Easter greetings. If people pay a health levy equating to private health insurance costs, can they expect MaxCare to give private healthcare quality services? Says Gaz. And thank you, Jim. I love Mannin Line because there's always somebody who knows something. And it's Jim who tells me Socrates was the teacher of Plato, and Plato taught Aristotle. And one of them, I think it was Plato, said this idea about a guardian class of philosopher kings. Stephen's 100% correct, says Peter on 014. This should be treated the same as Dr. Allinson's plans for the abolition of the triple lock. I've advised my MHKs support this and don't come looking to me for a vote next year. Can I take a sandwich onto a plane? Also, can I take kippers? I don't think kippers qualify as pig, beef or lamb, so I'm assuming kippers are going to be okay. I don't think foot and mouth can be transmitted by kippers. Just a note on talking to your MHK or commissioner, you don't need to attend a public meeting. You can easily send an email to the appropriate people by Googling contact name and title. I do this about matters of importance and I always get a reply. Thank you, Alan, for that point. Just a quick word, by the way, talking of MHKs. there is an MHK political surgery this coming Saturday for the constituency of Douglas North. If you want to meet John Wannenberg and David Ashford, MHKs, and some Douglas councillors, they will see you on Saturday at the main assembly hall at Williston School in School Road from 11:30 through till 1. Still waiting for my bus pass, says Eric, to do the bus trial. Still, what's a couple of weeks? Added on to 6 years. Anybody would think they don't want me to get on their buses, says Eric. Rob Callister emailed in just to say there won't be a debate in Tynwald this month regarding the NHS levy, but I'd like to draw your attention to item 6 on the order paper, which relates to the updating of the Manx state pension. The issue has certainly sparked significant public discussion in recent months. Well, that's it. Bank holiday tomorrow on Monday, so Mannin Line's going to be back on Tuesday. Have a wonderful Easter weekend. Thanks to Chris on the phones today, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
W.I.